So you found the skeleton. How would you tell people that was you personally? How would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research.
All right, welcome to Lisle with Landon, which is this week replacing Kent with Bent because, well, Landon wanted to come on, but I don't want to waste Landon on Kent Hovind. So instead, we're going to waste Landon on Jason Lisle. But also here with me, as always, is, well, I guess not quite as always, but as normal, is Bent Hovind. And we are joined with the person who you may be seeing on screen as Sphincter of Doom, but who we will probably be referring to as Legs, who we have mentioned.
Legs made it! Yes.
So let's start with Landon. We'll go from the bottom up. So Landon, welcome.
Welcome and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone and latitude from your friendly secular astronomer. And it's great to be back. And hello there, various body part names. And of course, Bent Hovind, no relation, because it's important to say no relation.
Right, yes. There is no relation between Bent Hovind and Uncle Kent Hovind. I mean, Kent Hovind.
Uncle Kent, no relation.
All right.
And of course, Dapper.
Well, yes, of course. But we just spoke, what was it, Saturday?
Yes.
This is actually the closest back-to-back thing we've ever done together, Landon.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a near miss.
All right, so let's go up to Legs. Legs, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Who are you? Why do we have you here?
You had me here because you invited me, and I was actually available. I'm a chemical engineer. I currently work in industrial gases. I'm actually starting to learn a little bit of coding as well, and I wouldn't call myself a scientist. I'm a science enthusiast, and yeah, that's kind of why I'm here.
And of course, you have a background in nuclear stuff in the Navy too.
That's true. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. There's our first instance of Godzilla. So that's going to get us into our drinking rules. Although, if Bent Hovind wants to give a quick introduction, he may. Although I feel like he needs
Bent.
no introduction.
You guys know me.
Yeah.
I wrote the music at the beginning, and I met Legs and Dapper in the Navy.
Yep.
That's how we know each other. And then I watched Landon on Saturday with my mom, and when they're talking about black holes, my mom's like, "Oh, and you get too close, there's spaghettification." I'm like, "Yes, Mom, you've learned." And so she really enjoyed it. She really enjoyed it. So.
Awesome. That's really cool. All right, so before we get going with the drinking rules, there was, in fact, a poll on my community page for what Landon should be drinking today. Now, on the poll, I said it was going to be Kent with Bent. That's because at the time, I wasn't exactly sure if we were doing Kent with Bent or we were going to do something else. But I knew Landon was going to be here. And the rum one. So, Landon, why don't you tell us what rum specifically you're drinking?
So, this is a Bacardi Grand Reserva 8-year rum. And it's actually a pretty good rum there. It's a there certainly are better rums, but this one's is pretty decent. It's got a nice body of flavor. Now, in between, I have for a palate cleanser, I have a Sans League Syrah 2013 from Santa Barbara County in California, and so I will be toasting in between.
Very nice.
So, cheers.
I feel like, is there ever really a time when a Syrah is the wrong call?
Well, maybe
Rarely.
if you had something like a really delicate souffle and the Syrah is the heavyweight.
Okay, fair enough.
But if you like the contrast, go for it.
Well, I feel like it's rarely the wrong time for a Syrah.
Yeah.
Because that's part of that is just that whenever I'm just like, I just want some wine, that's one of my go-to types of wine is I'll just pick up a Syrah. So anyway.
So I am a wine reviewer, and if you go on to Vivino, we have two drinks. I'm actually number 18 in the U.S. Landon Knoll is Landon space N-O-L-L.
So you're a mathematician, you're an astronomer, you're a planetary scientist, you're a wine taster. You've been studying volcanoes last year, if I remember correctly. What happened?
I'm a volcanic enthusiast. I'm not a biologist.
Okay.
I'm not a geneticist. All those squishy things. I appreciate I'm not a botanist, although I like botany. So if I go someplace like in Africa, I hire a botanist to come along because everyone knows what a giraffe and elephant, all those cool things. But the botanists know all the nooks and crannies inside, and you can go into those thickets and find some amazing stuff in the bush.
Okay. Actually, until we start, I'm just going to put us on this mode so people can actually say hi to everybody. All right, so let's go over the drinking rules for the stream, which, by the way, the Dapper Dino channel does not recommend you participate in. You participate in the drinking game at your own risk, and we accept no liability. So there you go. We got some, what is that, grapefruit soda?
Orange and prickly pear.
Ooh, prickly pear, nice. So, the drinking rules go. If the creationist in question, we're generalizing here because we now are up to 3 different creationists on this show, says something that is factually correct, that they did not simply quote, and that is non-trivial, like if they say, oh, the sky is blue, or 2 + 2 = 4, we don't drink for that. But if they say something like, like if they get some point about obscure anatomy or like stellar parallax or something, right? Then yes, we'll drink for that because it's rare enough that creationists get anything right. So, if it is so stupid that one of us feels like we need to drink in order to either, avoid smashing our foreheads into the back of our heads or just dying from the stupid, then we drink for that. We also drink if we get a visit from Godzilla or Mothra.
We've had 2 visits so far.
2 visits so far, and also we drink. We also drink if there are jokes that completely fall flat. So there you go.
So what if they make a joke that includes something factual, but they end with a punchline that's completely stupid?
We get to drink 3 times.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we just stack them up. Just like if on the off chance some particular conversation that might occasionally go wild on one of my social media outlets goes crazy. Oh, drink for Godzilla. We just keep drinking for it.
And so I'll use a Mickey Mouse glass. I think this is appropriate.
Oh, this is very appropriate. Oh yeah, definitely.
Family-friendly drinking glass.
Well, so I will say that this is generally a PG-13 stream. So, if any of you were thinking about going outside of the PG-13 bounds, please do not, because this is a reasonably family-friendly kind of thing.
Give Susan fewer reasons to demonetize you.
Exactly. All right, so let's get going. We are watching a video from.
Don't we have?
Yes, we do actually. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
You can't see it, but cheers.
Thank you. All right, so we are going to be watching a video by Jason Lisle, and he is sort of Ken Ham's pet astronomer. Just like Georgia Purdom, who you're probably more familiar with, is his pet geneticist. So, this talk is called Astronomy Reveals Creation, How the Secrets of the Cosmos Confirm the Bible. And we're just going to hear what Jason has to say for a little bit.
And it's interesting to see what they mean by confirming the Bible.
Yes. I don't even know if they're actually going to talk a lot about that, besides saying that astronomy says young Earth. I think that might be as far as they get. But we'll see what happens.
Can you bring up the video for us?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Well, good morning, folks. It is my pleasure to come before you today and talk about how the universe reveals the glory of God, and it really does. And there are a number of different ways in which the universe declares God's glory, and we're going to explore those together today. When the Bible touches on astronomy, it's right. You can trust it. And when the Bible speaks about the glory of God, we're going to...
I'm sorry, Landon, did you have something to add?
You can trust the Bible. So this is the book that says that the sun stood still and implies flat Earth, at least to some people and so forth. So I didn't buy that part.
Oh.
But you can trust it, though.
Oh, and I want to say to Robert Batty, I don't actually know the answer to that question that you asked. So I'm sorry, I honestly don't know. I knew that there was supposed to be something going on today, but I haven't heard either way, so I have no idea. Sorry about that. So sorry about that.
Is there a reason? I'm not seeing any live comments.
Yeah, and it's also...
Oh, they're coming through on my end.
I see, I can see, Monk just said something. Hi, Monk. But it says how the secrets of the cosmos confirm the Bible. It's something has hidden away the truth or something? Is that?
You don't get to know it until the 21st century, and that's when all of these things that God had already created for His glory get to be infiltrated into your brain now. I think that's actually what we're going for. And actually, Robert Batty, you're welcome, and I'm sorry I didn't see it earlier. I was just trying to focus my attention in too many places. So yeah, I honestly don't know. But here we go.
We're going to find that it's right. When the Bible talks about the basics of astronomy, it's right. And today we'd have to all agree that the Bible got it exactly right. When the Bible touches on the age of the universe, we're going to find it, God got it exactly right. When the Bible talks about the uniqueness of Earth.
So, let's just say you had to give a percentage chance, Landon, that AIG's estimate of the age of the universe were correct. What percentage chance would you give it?
I would say epsilon. That in calculus, that's that little thingy for every epsilon. There's a delta. It's a tiny bit of stuff. But given the context, you say it's from Ham and Company, I would say that's one of the things. Also the notion of what is the age of the universe, right? Because you'd sit there and say, well, what do you mean by that? I think what most people mean is time since Big Bang, but maybe they don't believe in.
So I know that AIG doesn't generally believe in the Big Bang, and so I think for them it would be. So I believe that they are ex nihilo creationists, and so I think they would mean the instant that there stopped being nothing, and there stopped or nothing besides God, I suppose, and started being something.
Yeah, and I know because there's people that sit there and say, well, the act of the Big Bang was God, or what that is what they try to do. So we'll see.
That might be something they're going for, but I don't think they believe in the Big Bang. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, we can see on there's something about glory, saying God is good. I don't know what basics are: age, Earth, and starlight. I guess.
I think we're going to focus mostly on starlight in this one, but I'm not sure.
And that God got it exactly right. Even when the Bible talks about distant starlight, that is one of the issues that I want to cover today. We're going to find that the Bible got it exactly right. When we explore the secrets of the universe, we're going to find that in all aspects, the Bible got it right. People have complained and they've said, well, Dr. Lau, the Bible's not an astronomy textbook.
Is he really a doctor?
Because astronomy textbooks, we have to change them every few years, and we learn that some of the things we believed were wrong. No, the Bible.
Oh no! Okay, you know what? I'm going to drink to that because that's technically true, and it's not quite trivial.
Okay, it's the thing about saying it's wrong is usually it's one of these sort of creationist canards, right? That sit there and say, for example, Einstein did not say Newton was wrong. It wasn't the case that Newtonian mechanics is validated. It's that the context is relativity rules over a larger general stuff. It's seldom that we're extraordinarily wrong. It's more about refining and understanding. And there's surprises where we hypothesize the universe is like this, and you find it's like that.
Yeah,
I don't call that being wrong. I mean saying, well, we think it's this, but here's data. Oh, it's that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's called being wrong. But this is a canard that they try to do, is that they say, well, you keep changing your mind and you're wrong, so why are you right now?
Well, it's more that like kind of what you said is that science is where you're incrementally less wrong. Where you follow the data and you're not you can't pluck truth from the sky, or it can't be handed to you from on high. You chip away with what you can rule out as wrong, and you get closer to the truth.
Well said. It's similarly like, for example, things like the Hubble constant. We know now is perhaps more likely to be a variable, and we know the brackets of stuff. So I wouldn't say that these things are wrong, but that there's error, and we're going to have a better understanding of the expansion of the universe, as opposed to being wrong. Because again, this is one of their little tricks they try to play, which is to say, well, you're wrong here, here, and here, so you're probably wrong now with all the sophisticated stuff.
Right. And another point is that the reason that we can trust science is because when new data is available that disconfirms some old idea or suggests a new one, science goes with the new data and says, okay, well, this old idea is no longer completely compatible with the data at hand, so we have to either modify it or come up with a new idea, or in extreme cases, which doesn't happen much anymore, scrap the old idea.
And here again is, science is about questions. Answers in Genesis provides you the answer, provides you the dogma, right? It's a very unscientific process what they do, even though they try to say someone's got a PhD and they say some sciencey things.
Yeah.
It really is about questions, and hypotheses and models are being questioned and refuted to come up with something which can stand to become elevated as a theory.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to get a little bit more Jason in here? Here we go.
The Bible's the Word of God, and so when it touches on astronomy, it's right.
Oh, I just want to add one quick thing. There was a question in the chat somewhere about what Jason Lisle's PhD is in. Jason Lisle has a PhD in astrophysics from the University of Colorado at Boulder. I checked. So it is, unless that is a lie, which I doubt, it is a legitimate PhD in the field that he's talking on, which is in itself sort of a miracle for AIG. Because they usually have people trotted out to speak completely outside their normal expertise. So, yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked that Jason Lisle is here doing this for us, but here we go.
And you can trust it. And so let's explore these issues together today. So let's begin with the glory of God. We find that the incredible size and beauty of the universe demonstrates God's creativity and his power. There's a lot of different ways in which the universe declares God's glory, but I'm going to argue that the size and the beauty of the universe are two of those ways. We learn this from Psalm 19:1, that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the skies proclaim the work of his hands. And I think that the size and the beauty of the universe are two of the ways in which the universe declares God's glory. Now, the size of the universe...
He said not chance, by the way, in the text. He didn't say that. And I think, again, this is not a probability sort of thing, right? You make a statement and you say it's not by chance. That by chance he glossed over is actually makes his statement, I think, even worse.
Yeah, the chance thing always... So, right, the universe does have processes that, as far as they're available to our scrutiny, are more or less random. But they are not the things that predominate at most macroscopic scales, right? Like, sure, you can say, like, oh, the exact pattern of, slightly cooler and slightly warmer spots in the CMB is probably a more or less chance thing. But from that initial seeding, very little of what goes on at the scale of the cosmos is a chance matter.
Yeah. And scale, of course, is and he probably is meaning scale of the visible universe, because we don't know the scale of the universe actually could even be infinite. The thing that I find is kind of funny is you sit there and say, well, the number line, they're big numbers. Does that mean big numbers declare the glory of God because they can be like really huge?
Yeah,
and the number line.
What size of universe would no longer declare the glory of God would be a good question.
I mean, at what point after the Big Bang was the universe puny and pejorative to God before it inflated and became...
It's like, oh, God, your universe is only 10 billion light years across. Get out of here, God. Like,
wait a minute, what kind of God can't even make a spherical Earth? It's flat.
Yeah, it's... saying the scale, you have to set up some kind of criteria for which scales would no longer be impressive. Because I might say, oh, well, I'm not impressed with, a 14 and a half or so radius for the size of the visible universe. If it's not 40 billion years, then I don't think it's impressive enough for God.
Yeah.
How do you counter that?
And again, the scale of the universe in terms of what scale, right? If you talk about it in terms of those original first wave bubbles that came out just after the Big Bang flash that were 500,000 light years across and now are 550 million light years across. If you're talking about the universe in that scale, it's not so big, right? It depends upon within context, right? So.
Yes. Oh, and I want to say to Random Evo Times, thank you. I did not know that you were uploading a happy birthday video for me. I will be definitely checking that out. I really appreciate that, man. That's awesome.
Is this your birthday?
No, Sunday is my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now, something else that it could just be, and you guys may have already touched on it, is that just because something appears random, it may just be that we can't measure the actual mechanisms that are causing it, so it only appears random to us.
Yeah.
So
that's actually probably the case for things like genetic mutation, where from the standpoint of a biologist, you can't gain enough access to the chemistry going on in any particular instance to be able to exactly predict which chemical reactions are going to take place that cause some kind of mutation. But presumably, if you could get enough information about what molecules are there, we're still at the scale where quantum effects are not so high that you can't reliably predict chemical reactions. So the randomness that seems to be present in genetic mutation probably isn't nearly as random as you would think if you had more access to the actual situation.
And in some sense, you might say it could be in some scale, some deterministic, even though the outcome is not known. So the difference between, I think, probably what they really mean is chaotic.
Yeah,
and
probably.
In some cases, at systems like the large scale systems in terms of atomic, like biological cell, it is so macroscopic compared with the nucleons that it's a there's a lot of information that's not accessible. Right. I don't mean a hidden thing, but again, usually when they talk about random, it really is chaotic, and not.
Kind of springing off of that, I wonder if there's like a psychological bent to it, to where people who have a desire to see things as orderly and controllable, and kind of like you can engineer people or society, that they have to kind of want to see it as that way, and anything other than that, even if they can't control it or engineer it in some way, it must be chaotic. It must be due to chance.
Excellent point there, a body part of doom. Because when I was into this kind of stuff as a fundamentalist, my reactions against quantum mechanics was because I wanted things to be kind of certain. I didn't like this uncertainty business. Now, I tried to defeat quantum mechanics, and quantum mechanics won, but that's another story.
It does turn out to be extremely rigorous and have a lot of predictive power. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's get a little bit more Jason in here.
I found very difficult to convey to people because it's just beyond our ability to comprehend, really. But what we can do is at least show you visually some of these things. And this is a nice way to view the universe, by zooming out by a factor of 10 every 4 seconds. So that little green circle.
Oh, this is one of these scale things.
The next
Like, come on.
10 times bigger
Okay,
than that.
there are these scale
The next
things.
circle is
Yeah.
10 times bigger than
Yeah,
that.
it's a little
So
trivial,
we're
but
going
it's a
out
cool
faster
animation.
And faster and faster. There's other little
made me
lines that
dizzy.
you see there are the orbits of the other
first,
planets
yeah.
around the sun. Finally, the sun itself comes into view right about there. So we keep zooming out. It gives you a feel for just how big the solar system is. It's enormous.
Okay, good. They have Pluto on it.
But now it's reduced within a little circle there.
Everybody's favorite dwarf
Where are
planet.
the other stars?
Pluto's a
They're
dwarf
still
planet.
way in the background.
Well, whether Pluto's a
You see,
planet or
the
not, it still
universe is
exists.
much bigger than just our petty
Yeah.
little solar system. In fact, we can still see the constellation Orion at this point.
No,
And so
actually
it's,
not
the
in that
constellations are still
scale.
in view.
Not in that
As we
scale,
continue to pan out
yeah.
deeper and deeper into space,
You just
finally
painted
we
those
get to the
dots
realm
on the thing.
of the star.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure to what degree these things are painted on as a skybox and to what degree there's actually a 3D model going on, so I'm not sure.
Stars. Finally, we get to the realm where the stars themselves, you can see them beginning to converge into the middle there. And these are the actual positions of the nearest million or so stars to the solar system. So this is all accurate. And as we go out even deeper,
Well,
we
actually,
find the stars are
what
collected in
what
this
date
large
was this produced?
I do not know. I have an upload date, but I suspect strongly that it was produced a few years before that, and the upload date is in 2017.
So they don't have the Gaia data, so they don't have a really good accurate. What we would say is we'd have to say our model of the galaxy given imperfect Hipparchus
Yeah.
telemetry, and Gaia now gives us at least about 1% of the luminous bodies in there, so we have a better chance.
Right. And I'm also going to guess that this Milky Way that we're zooming out from is going to be some other galaxy that is seen basically with the disk flat onto us. That they just
I'm waiting to see what the spiral arms are, the Sagittarius arms, and so forth, to see if
Okay.
they get that, or they.
If they get it wrong, we'll take a drink for it.
Okay.
And Landon will let us know.
structure, which
Hey,
we call
they
the
missed.
Milky Way.
They did miss the Oort
And they
cloud.
used to think that was the entire
Yeah.
universe.
Well,
until
that's
they realized
true.
all those other little things.
Alright,
No, okay, no, stop.
Back it a little bit. Put him on mute so we can get there. Okay.
Let's see. Well, they've got multiple arms there. So given
Is that the right arm?
2017, yeah, I mean it's the orientation. I'm used to see it. I'm used to seeing the thing with the heliocentric or the galactic longitude of 0 going down. It's plausible. Now is that? But wait a minute. See, is that over there? Are they implying that's the largest small Magellanic clouds on the side? I have to see. We have to zoom out a
I'm not
little
sure.
bit.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure about that.
But folks, the universe is big. Get over it.
Yeah.
Right? This is not. I mean, it's like saying the water is wet. Look
Landon,
how wet the ocean is.
Landon, you have to tell us at what point you would have stopped being impressed by the size of the universe. That's the real trick. Which one of these zooms would you be like, oh no, that's not impressive enough for God anymore?
But see, here's I think for the people listening is how you handle it. You don't sit there because this I get this problem. This thing posed to me when we're talking about scales of the cosmos, and someone says, "Wow, doesn't this make you insignificant? Doesn't this like?" I say, "No. We don't have a value. The universe is not a value of 1, and your 1/nth being tiny. Your value is 1, and the universe is really impressive, right? Mm-hmm. This is why I say I live in my favorite universe. I'm really impressed by the universe. Not that I'm dwarfed by it and I feel insignificant. Oh, I know how important I am, at least to myself. The universe is even more impressive. That's how you handle it. You invert the fraction and you say my value is 1, and the universe is really impressive.
Yeah.
Now, in keeping with that, like if the degree to which the universe is found to be impressive from a scale standpoint is an affirmation of God or the glory of God, does that mean that as we are able to explore the cosmos more through interstellar travel, that God's glory is diminished?
That's a good question.
And does that mean the multiverse says it's a pantheon of gods?
Maybe God is the God over all of the multiverse? I don't know.
I
maybe just
the multiverse might sit there and say there's more than one. Yahweh is not the only game in town. If that's
but if he's the only game in this town, then it doesn't matter. Then we
if you have the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, does that mean that God keeps splitting and you have different gods in different spots? And
maybe that's where we can get into Mormonism.
I'll have to drink to that.
Okay, there you go. I'll drink to that too. All right, here we go. Let's get a little bit more zooms.
All those other little things out there are other galaxies. Every little speck you see there is a galaxy.
I think I saw something that could have been a Magellanic Cloud,
as
but
mapped
I don't
out
know.
by various satellites and so on. And you can see that the galaxies come in clusters. The Virgo cluster just passed by, and then the Coma and the Hercules clusters are passing by. And the galaxies
by the way,
organized in this complete tapestry.
So we stopped there. We should probably take a drink because that is actually.
Okay, yeah. Hey, there you go. Cheers. And I also want to say that this is already at a higher tier than anything Kent Hovind has ever done in his life.
Yeah. Now, the images they're using are old, but that's fine because the people 10 years from now are going to come criticize our images now. So
right, yeah. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt on the time frame. That's why, like, if like when we're doing Kent with Bent, if Kent says something that was reasonable for the time, and the only things disconfirming that have come since he made the video, I give it to him. It's like, you know what, that's fine for.
And so people are watching this, kind of understand that the universe at this scale, up until the largest scale, are blobs of something surrounded by voids of relatively nothing, right? From the atom, the nucleon, the electrons to stuff. You've been seeing this Earth, space, solar system, space, let's say galaxy, space, cluster galaxy, space. That process repeats until you get to the largest scale.
Okay, and let's take
the
a
largest
look.
Scale. It
gets nice
and there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Is that like when Feynman described the universe as just a bunch of jiggling things?
Yeah, but then, as I said, the largest scale of jiggling has a different phase, and that's actually quite important.
Mm-hmm. Void, isn't that amazing? That's the universe, or at least as much of it as we understand.
So why don't we talk about why, at the largest scales, the universe is essentially uniform?
Because all of those interactions aggregate over a large scale. I mean, is it as simple? Like to take a crude example, temperature is the average kinetic energy of all the particles in a substance, and then you just take that to a grander scale, so the differences between each particle appear less significant, or you just can't, or you have trouble measuring the differences.
Yeah, and be careful. You say what you mean by uniform. We're not saying identical. It's not like it's clone, blah blah blah. The scale is similar, but the larger scale, instead of having like a sphere run by void, run by more stuff run by voids and so forth, at the very largest scale, you have a void surrounded by stuff. You have clusters of galaxies surrounding large voids, and those voids right now are an average around 550 million light years across. Right? So it takes light 550 million years to pass. At the time of the Big Bang flash, 378,000 years after the Big Bang, if our model of the Big Bang is reasonably correct, those voids were around 500,000 light years, and those represented in the primordial thing post Big Bang, the fundamental tone, the fundamental resonance tone of the universe. That there was a sound wave, literally a sound wave, that crushed things, and then photons pushed it back out and said one, contraction expansion. That's the fundamental tone, which right now, if you listen to that tone, is 71 octaves below B flat. That's kind of the current.
So it's a B flat
tone.
It's very low B flat.
Yes, we're in the octave scales at 71 octaves down.
But you should include a whole lot more B flats.
I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
You'd have to have that. I don't know if you could say 71 octaves on the music score. It would be kind of stretched.
I don't know if that's a realistic thing. You might have to up it a few orders of magnitude.
Wouldn't that song be like millions of years long just to play one note? No.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the thing, is that fundamental tone at the time 378,000 years after the Big Bang was a tone that the speed of light at that time was around a half. I mean, the speed of sound was about half the speed of light, right? In that phase, and even so, the wavelength was 500,000 light years across. So, you got kind of a low, the fundamental tone. The universe is a brown note. If you use the South Park reference.
All right, here we go. Let's get a little. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. This is the one I want. Sorry about that. I'm not super proficient at the whole StreamYard thing, so please bear with me. Yes. Here we go.
But I'm not impressed with saying big universe, therefore God.
Yeah, it's arbitrary. It's sort of like saying, I have a big tree in my yard, therefore I'm king. It's like, well, there's always going to be a bigger tree, or how big of a tree do you need before you get to be king? Like, what is the cutoff here? And there isn't one.
Like, isn't it equally impressive to have a really small universe in which life can flourish?
Oh yeah, if it turns out that the whole universe were contained in like just the visible part to the naked eye and that's it, then creationists would be saying how efficient it was that God didn't have to create a gigantic empty void. All he made was just the things we need. That would be the exact argument. So here we go.
Understand at this point. Well, let's go back in close to home, though. The Lord was gracious enough to put a celestial body very close to the Earth. We call it the Moon, and it is a wonderful object to enjoy in a small telescope.
Close to place upon what scale?
We've now mapped out the Moon.
On the scale of the solar system, I guess.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you look at the scale of the Earth and Moon in their distances, I mean, you look at some of the Jupiter's moons are way out there. I mean, Jupiter's at moons that are 20, 30,000 kilometers, 23 million kilometers away from it.
Right.
So it kind of depends upon.
So could we say that even at the Jupiter scale, it counts as close, but on a human scale, it counts as very, very, very far away?
And in some ways, it's close because the barycenter, the balance point between the Earth and Moon, is actually still inside the Earth.
Yeah.
Right? It's not so far away that it's left. It's between the two. So.
Okay. So it's close in some ways. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, astronomy is not my strong suit, but isn't a big portion of that Jupiter is so much further away from the sun, as well as, say, Saturn. Plus, most of Jupiter's moons are smaller. Plus, it has multiple moons.
It's mostly the difference in scale between Jupiter itself and the moons, as far as I know.
I think the mass of Jupiter allows it to hold on to moons at a much greater distance.
Yeah.
So the group Jupiter is much more massive, If you ignore the sun, Jupiter is about somewhere on the order of like 79-80% of the mass of everything else in the solar system is just in Jupiter. And Saturn, 79%, Saturn runs in about 18%. And after Jupiter and Saturn, the rest outside the sun are about 2%. Everything else.
Peanuts.
So everything else is kind of mouse nuts, as they say.
Now, the Earth's moon is one of the most massive. It's like the fourth or fifth massive moon in the solar system.
I would say that you have certain Titan is a big one, Callisto, Ganymede, and in fact that the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter are between moon size and a little bit more than moon size, and certainly Titan is there. There's a couple that there are moons that are there. I mean, in terms of dwarf planets, right? Because the geophysical definition. In the geophysical definition of a planet, our moon is also a planet, right? It's probably more typical size. The most you would say that our moon is a dwarf planet, and it turns out that most planets are dwarf planets, and the Earth is kind of a larger oddball from the rocky point of view, not the gas bags.
Okay. We ready for some more? Oh, okay. I guess not.
So I'm given to understand the reigning theory as to how the Earth, most satellites in the solar system are captured asteroids, but for the Earth's moon, the Earth was struck by a large object and a large chunk of the Earth separated, but then it stayed in orbit. Yeah, I mean,
if our model of how the Earth-Moon system formed is reasonably correct, then an object probably on the scale of Mars hit the early Earth. And it destroyed the early Earth. This is probably in the order of some 50 million years after formation. Sorry, Ken. And the bullet, basically, the two things vaporized, and the bullet that struck us, passed through the gaseous, turn gaseous stuff, passed through the Earth, but wasn't going fast enough to achieve escape velocity. So the Earth captured the bullet. And the majority of the mantle of the bullet became the moon. We actually had probably a ring for a while before that ring coalesced into the single moon, which was about 4 times closer than it is now, and has been slowly drifting away due to tidal stuff. But it caused the Earth, which was more of a uniform dust bunny, because the planetesimals normally go around in a thing sweeping up and gravitationally collecting bits of things, so they were fairly uniform. And when we got hit by that large object, not large on the Earth size, but sizable in an impactor, and the thing vaporized, that caused a lot of the heavier, denser materials to sink towards the center, which is why the Earth has, we say, is why the universe has a very dense core. Why a lot of the uranium, thorium is deep in the Earth and not radioactive on the surface. It's why the Earth has such a concentration of radioactive material, why it's actually, for its size, still quite geologically active. So that destruction of the early proto-Earth produced a moon, which helped us stay upright and not wobble around like Mars or Venus. And it created a surface that was not as radioactive, and it helped create the conditions for a dynamo that created a magnetic bubble, which deflects some of the Earth's, some of the solar radiation. Now, people with, creationists will probably sit there and say, well, that's evidence of God's plan. No, that's physics.
Well, to be fair, maybe God's plan was physics, but he had bad people who took down his notes.
All right. We're ready for a little bit more, Jason? That's no, so I'm going to go for it.
Full detail. We've actually got a spacecraft orbiting the moon, taking high-resolution images of its surface, and so we can actually zoom in on very small pieces of the moon. In fact, we can actually see the area where the astronauts landed on the moon. Want to see that? There it is. That's the bottom of the spacecraft. Remember when they landed on the moon?
Isn't the moon has those writing on it and arrows?
Yeah, I wonder how big those letters are. Those are gigantic letters.
You didn't know that's what the things the astronauts are doing, was putting letters in.
Eggs to save fuel. And so we've left a little bit of junk on the moon there. We pollute wherever we go. But anyway, in fact, if you look very carefully in this image, you can see this as sort of that dark line going from the spacecraft over to that crater. Those are the footprints of the astronauts as they walked away from the spacecraft.
Is that true?
So
I
30-year-old footprint.
Well, which one is this one? Is this?
Oh, 11, right?
Yeah, it's 11.
Is it? I mean, these are the lines he's talking about, and I'm pretty sure that is in fact what those are. So you know what? I'm willing to give him a drink because he's being more or less reasonably interpreting these things. So yeah, we'll give him a drink. Congrats, there, Jason Lisle. You are this. I want you to understand, Landon. This is definitely a notch or two above what we normally deal with on Tuesday nights. So, and even that's not saying a lot, right? So here we go.
Thanks. How about that? They're not going anywhere. There's no weather on the moon. It's exposed to pretty much vacuum. So pretty amazing, isn't that? The detail with which we can see things today, I find that astonishing.
I think that's true,
And by
too.
the way, I have to add, for those of you that
That there's no air. It's fairly trivial, though.
But
Yeah.
I would have said that there's no atmospheric weather, right?
Yeah.
I think that there certainly is space weathering and the solar wind and the particle, rain. Plus, whenever we go to the moon and something we create a sort of temporary, very, very thin atmosphere because they kick up stuff. But it's true that the universe that the moon it's not able to retain an atmosphere of any significance, and so there's no atmospheric. There's very little, you say, in atmospheric impacts.
Yeah.
I guess it's true that you can't avoid having weather because if you don't have an atmosphere, you would probably have more meteorite activity, which is a kind of weather too.
And when the Apollo astronauts went there, they kicked up dust, and that dust was still gravitationally kind of bound to the moon and had created a very, very thin atmosphere that settled out. The most of the weathering that occurs is from micrometeorite impacts and the solar wind.
Okay. Here we go.
that think that we never landed on the moon, it's just a conspiracy? Because you saw a special on Fox.
Oh, okay. That's a joke.
That was a joke. Oh my goodness, that was a joke. All right, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. It was.
Are moon conspiracy theorists primarily like Fox News watchers? I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I don't know enough of them.
But he was making a joke. Right?
Yeah, it was a joke. So we're gonna drink because no one laughed at that. Well, I guess his audience did, but I barely noticed it was supposed to be a joke.
It sounded like a pity laugh, to be honest.
Well, could be.
Photoshop, don't worry about it.
Oh, that's another one.
Yeah, we'll drink for
The
the second
scale
one.
of the cosmos is just as amazing as its beauty. The moon is a wonderful object to enjoy if you have a small telescope or even binoculars. In fact, I've just written a book called The Stargazer's Guide to the Night Sky that shows you how to maximally enjoy the night sky, how to enjoy things like the moon. If you're interested in buying a telescope, it'll tell you how to get one and so on. The moon is a lot of fun, especially when it's in its first quarter.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's actually a pretty decent guide to
I think
purchasing
so.
a new. So this isn't normally a drink trigger, but I'm going to say cheers for writing a useful book because creationists so rarely do that.
And the fact he's right that at first quarter where you see the shadows and Terminator stuff,
Yeah.
it is the universe. I mean, the problem is our moon shouts, light
Wait,
speaking wise.
didn't someone here set some kind of record for sighting the new moon?
Yeah.
Someone here did that. Yeah, that was you, wasn't it?
It wasn't me.
So in case
Yeah,
you guys didn't know, Landon Knoll, why don't you tell us about your record regarding the new moon?
Well, it was during an experiment where I chose to view the moon during a total solar eclipse, and so I had darkened out my eyes, and in the middle of totality, when the moon was pretty much in line with the sun covering it, and there, you need to basically block out the corona. Right, most people go to the eclipse to see the corona. You need to build a mask that you can draw to your eye to block out because the corona is actually quite bright. The corona is actually brighter than the full moon. So you want to be able to mask out the corona, and if you've got your eyes adapted, so you've not looked at the diamond ring, you've not had your eyesight, blinded by the sun, then during totality, you're going to see much more of the corona. And then you take a black sheet with a tiny speck in it, and you bring that speck towards your eye to the point where you can look through that hole and see the moon. And you adjust it so that the black plastic blocks out the corona, and you're centered on the moon. And at that point, you see the moon. You've probably seen the moon in twilight, where you can see the Earth shine. Basically, you see a very thin crescent, and you see the rest of the moon is clear there. You're watching sunlight bounce off the Earth, go up to the moon, and back to you. Basically, you're seeing a double bounce. Similarly, during totality, when the moon is right in front of the Earth, the shadow is only like less than 1% of Earth's surface. So the rest of the surface of the Earth is bouncing up the moon and back to you. So you can see the moon in the middle of the eclipse. And so I sacrificed about 15 seconds of totality. I made sure I didn't blink because I didn't want to right there. And as I said, somewhere in that time, the moon was actually in the middle of totality, right in front of the sun, as far as you can get. And I saw the moon. So
there you go.
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah. Oh, and we have a question. Landon, did you see the total eclipse a few years back? He saw the one in Oregon.
Yes, I've seen 17. So most likely the answer is yes. There are a couple of things, but which one years back?
I think it was the one that went through Oregon and then it swept down south and east.
So that would have been the 2017 eclipse. That was the one that actually was. The eclipse was totality was only visible in a thin line, but every state in the United States, including Hawaii, had at least a partial. So that was a nice.
Now, when you say you've seen 17 eclipses, is that 17 solar eclipses or 17?
Yes, I talk about 17 totalities, and there's also a bunch of annulars and a bunch of partials, but 17 total. So I have about 50 minutes of totality having viewed stuff.
And then and now you see why I like having Landon on, because Landon has some really cool stories about all sorts of stuff. And
if by the way, if travel's permitted, at the beginning of December, I'm going to go to the Marquesas Islands, or near the Marquesas Islands. That's kind of halfway between Easter Island and Hawaii. West of there, I'm going to watch intercept the shadow, and then next year you can join me near the South Pole. We're going to Antarctica to watch a total solar eclipse.
Landon, you know I live in the fourth sunniest and one of the third hottest city in the entire planet for a reason, right? You know about that.
Yeah, I mean, dinosaurs count on warmth. Antarctica is not very dino-friendly.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to... Actually, you know what, though? It is pretty dino-friendly, because there's a lot of dinosaurs that live on Antarctica.
But there you have at least...
kind of dinosaur.
You have at least 200 Kelvin. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
lots of Kelvin to go around.
Lots of playroom right there, yeah.
What's your problem?
Anyway. You know it gets 47 Celsius fairly routinely where I live, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That is true. And by the way, it turns out for total solar eclipses, deserts are a really good place to see, because deserts tend to have less clouds, they tend to have more stable air, and so
there's a reason that some of the best Earth-based observatories are in mountains in the desert.
And some of my best experiences in the Gobi, in the Lut Desert, and the Arabian Desert, and the Sahara Desert, in places like that, are in the Antarctic Desert, so forth. It is. There's a reason why you go to a desert, because there's less chance of clouds.
Landon, sometime I want you to take a world map and I want you to color in the places you haven't been.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. All right.
I think it's 79 countries on the official list. I'm not quite at the 100 yet, but
okay, not yet. We're working on it.
Yeah. All right. So he said yes. He said yes. He's correct. Half moon, where you can see some of the moon. It's up for a while, so it's going to be up for a half the night, and you get nice shadows. He's correct that's thing.
All right.
And hopefully he said binoculars is a good way to do it.
He did, actually. He said all those things. Let's give him a couple more drinks for saying all that stuff.
Cheers.
So far, Jason Lisle is actually better at astronomy than Georgia Purdom is at genetics, is from what I can tell. So good job, Jason.
From what I've heard about that
See it here,
person,
where
it's not very hard.
Well, okay, that's a fair point.
illuminated.
Now,
on
he
the
stated as a
right
fact
side.
rather than backing it up that somehow the universe being big is the glory of God, right? As
Yeah,
opposed to universe just being physics.
Yeah. So I mean, he hasn't been perfect, but you know, he's doing better than we're used to on Tuesday nights. Let's just say that.
AIG is so much
that
better,
shows those
like,
craters, and they just look beautiful, and it
low
really has
bar,
a
though.
three-dimensional appearance to it when it's in first quarter phase. When it's full, it just looks flat as a dime. But when it's in that first quarter, you can see the spherical nature.
By the way,
because
he's
of the way the
also
light.
he's also correct, but I mentioned point that one of the things you want to do if you want to see the moon really well is look at the moon during a total lunar eclipse when the moon's in the shadow, and it's less blurry from less glare because you can see much more detail during a total lunar eclipse.
Oh, we had a question for you, Lynn. Do you consider the Pluto-Charon system to be a double planet or double dwarf planet system?
Yes, I for that double dwarf planet because they orbit a common point in between.
Yeah, they have the barycenter
Earth
outside.
Moon is not a double. It's not a double dwarf planet because the balance point, if you will, the Earth just wobbles around inside, but the moon goes around it. Whereas in the case of Charon and Pluto, they're doing this kind of a dance.
Well, if you guys tune in to the 100 subscribers special stream on Top Hats Off, which will be following this fairly shortly, I'm hoping to get Elite Dangerous working for streaming. And if I do, I will be starting on a double moon. So that's fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So here we go.
Casts on the shadows, or on the craters, casting their shadows and so on. The moon is about the size of the United States, and that just gives you a feel for how big it is. As we go out a little deeper, you find, well, there it is compared to the Earth. And the Earth is a beautiful gem as seen from space. It's the one planet I've never seen in a telescope. And, oh well.
Okay,
But
so
anyway,
is that
we now have pictures of
is that a fact or is that a joke?
It's a fact and it's a joke, and I'm going to drink twice for it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that works for me.
It turns out that he hasn't been to space and looked at Earth through a telescope.
Also,
By the way, I will point out to him
That Earth is not the
if you take your telescope and go ahead.
No, I was telling Legs here to calm down because he started to interrupt you, Landon.
Right.
Well, when I do my 9-planet tour, I make sure we take the telescope, point it down towards the horizon, and say, "There's Earth." Right?
Yeah.
You can see Earth in a telescope. You just have to.
You get much
Point
less of
down
it than normal compared to the other planets, but I have also seen Earth in a telescope. I just didn't see much of it in a telescope.
But that's why I think it's a joke because he kind of knows. He said, "Yeah, that's what I mean by making a joke."
Oh yeah. Okay. So, let's see. Has he seen Uranus and Neptune with a telescope? I mean,
Absolutely.
wait,
And-
have I seen both?
I've seen Uranus with naked
I haven't
eye.
seen
Okay.
You can actually see Uranus with the naked eye if
You can.
It gets like a.
You have to know where it is. It has to be
type
really
of-
dark and such, but
But yes,
I mean, if I recall correctly, you can see Venus and Mars without a telescope, right?
well, yeah, but
Oh,
those
yeah.
are easy.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
and those and Jupiter are the easy ones. The thing with Uranus is that it's so dim that it takes special conditions for you to reliably spot it. And the reason it really wasn't discovered, even though it technically is visible, is that it wasn't reliably visible enough for people to accurately record where it was from night to night. So people would just lose track of it if they ever noticed it in the first place.
yes, and that's so where the best I did was up in Kosciuszko, which is the highest peak in Australia, allegedly, and you have to say allegedly when you say Australia because
Because it might not exist, because it's on the bottom of the globe, and that's impossible.
yeah. And that also I also use some oxygen to enhance my retina, and then I knew where Uranus was and basically drew the spot and confirmed it with a telescope or actually binoculars.
Nice. All right, let's see what else Jason has for us.
Wait, so what I was about to say,
Oh.
that I accidentally, if you go back a couple seconds, it shows an Earth moon, but the Earth's tilt seems wrong.
Well,
Well,
it could.
I-
You could just say it's on an equinox.
On a what?
On the equinox, and it's shown with a north-south as up-down.
So you could say, well, it's equinox and your tangent to the I get what you're saying. Normally, you'd have it on the side. Usually, if you're talking about tilt stuff, the Earth would be tilted on the side, and also the Moon isn't appear that way. The Moon's actually about a 5.1 degree inclination.
Well, I'm going to just be fair and say it's just a size comparison.
It's just a Photoshop thing.
Yeah, they just photoshopped a to-scale Earth right next to a to-scale Moon, and they weren't too worried about all of the other details of the system because it's just there to illustrate the sizes.
But they're going to be picky. But you know, if you're trying to be precise, you would say distance not to scale.
Well, yes, you probably should have said that, but
Come on.
I get what they were doing. Yeah, I'm going to give him this one and say it's fine. It's fine.
He's smiling.
And I'm anxious to hear what Colonel Williams will say about that later. But in any case, this is Saturn at its true scale compared to the Earth. Now, Saturn in a telescope, it's marvelous. Just marvelous. In fact, one of the things that I love to do is people are looking at it through a telescope for the first time and they see Saturn. Usually they say, wow. And I love that reaction. I just love seeing that.
Yeah.
But and Saturn just looks like this tiny little gem.
By the way, that's not a view that we see.
Yeah, that's like
Saturn,
a Cassini.
that's a Saturn. That's a Cassini thing.
Yeah, because Saturn is always full.
We're a little bit aside, but you know what I do, particularly on like the 0.8 meter Fremont telescope, is to get enough magnification that you can see the Saturn casting a little bit of shadow on its ring. You can see the ring doesn't quite hit the planet, but it's a little bit to the side.
But yeah, all the superior planets, we always see their full disk illuminated, right? Because they're farther away from us.
I think one of the best views of Saturn was in the Lick Great 36-inch refractor. So 36-inch refractor, giant lens stuff. The largest now operating refractor, and we were at the stage where the rings were edge on. So the rings are only a couple hundred meters across. So when the rings go edge on, what you see is a very thin white line hitting the disc, and you see a black line going across the disc.
Yeah, because you see the shadow.
And at that point, because the rings go edge on and don't reflect a lot of stuff, you can see some of the moons in the rings as well.
Really cool.
It's a cool thing. So yes, Saturn is a fun planet. I like it.
Let's drink for Jason Lisle getting it correct that Saturn is a very impressive object to view. So good job, Jason.
There you go.
I'm not sure how impressive it has to be to prove creationism true, but whatever.
It's about 9 Earths across. It's huge, and the rings go out even further, of course.
By the way, that's correct.
It looks amazing in a small
we'll drink for that.
This tiny little gem. Astronomy is really a lesson in perspective, isn't it? Certainly, and that tells us something about the mind of God. We have the sun.
What?
Does it tell us something about the mind of God? I'm not sure how.
Is it say that God's small-minded, or
maybe he's big-minded?
God's got scale problems?
Or maybe he just operates at many. I don't even see. You know what? I'm going to drink because I don't even understand what we're supposed to take away from that.
I mean, again, the number line, 10 to the 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 10th power is a really big number. Does that declare the glory of God because it's a big number?
I guess it must. But you know what I think it's time for is a drink refresher because mine is getting significantly watered down. And we're at about that time. So what I'm going to do...
Does it mean that negative that number is a devil's number? Is it negative number is devil? And
yes.
Positive
Landon, you have proven the existence of both God and Satan and their equal and infinite power using the number line.
So does that mean that on the complex plane, large complex numbers are Xenu and Joseph Smith?
Maybe.
So what is the Fourier transform of the number line that is the glory of God?
Oh goodness!
I mean, that's part of it. As I say, I like the scale of the universe, but I don't. It doesn't wow me because it's there.
It's
reality.
It's impressive if you think about how long it might take me to get someplace going at the speeds I normally travel. I guess, but
I mean, I'm impressed by quantum mechanics. And in fact, I would say quantum mechanics is proof that there's an intelligent design because no intelligent being would design in quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics is like a bug, right? You don't build reality with that weirdness of stuff. That's
unless you're a
troll. or yeah, a troll, or you're insane, right? So I guess he would say that quantum mechanics declares the insanity of God and the fact that he's to be put in a insane asylum, because that's just weird.
All right, well, let's go really quickly to our intermission. Let anyone who needs to get new drinks or use any biological facilities that they need to. I'm going to refresh my drink, and you guys get to see a short little commercial. You've probably seen it before because it's the same as it has been the last few times, but it's still going to happen anyway.
I want to take a moment to talk about something serious. There is a problem facing late surviving non-avian dinosaurs in modern America. Hunting is very strictly regulated, and only allowed at certain times of the year. This means that for much of the year we have to rely on farm-raised food, which means money. If you want to help a starving dinosaur, please consider donating on Patreon, or buying from my merch store. Links are in the description. Please help. Dinosaurs all over YouTube are depending on you to help them through the hunting off-season.
Oh, Nani? Dare? Oh, Ojira desu ka? Hai, Gojira-san. Hai. All right, and we are back. Landon is quickly making some Vegemite on toast to declare the hypothetical glory of Australia, which may or may not exist because it's on the bottom of the globe. Also, come on, those are all fake animals. We all know there's no such thing as a koala bear. That's ridiculous. Anyway, we also have our first super chat of the evening from Damage262 for $5 US. who says, "Wow, this is a." Oh, I was muted. I was muted. I'm sorry. I'm just an idiot.
But I heard you on the stream.
Wait, you did? You heard me on the stream?
Yes, I could hear you on the stream. So
I was muted on the thing. So anyway, our first let's see, super chat is from Damage262 who says, "Wow, this is a PBS money grab." Winky face.
Yeah.
Oh, I love guys. Hey, you know what? I'm not doing this just for the money, but it's a really big part of helping me keep this at the current output pace. Because
I mean, folks, it's simple. If you like the content you see, you should support the people that produce it.
Yep.
Right? If you don't like it, you support something else. So if you like the stuff, please donate, like and subscribe, and all that good stuff.
And if you can't afford to donate, then a like, subscribe, share, commenting, all of those things help build up the channel. So
Everything helps.
Yeah.
So points for what wavelength of the sun is he showing?
Oh yeah, let's double check. Is it rotating? Although, could we just be looking at it upside down?
That's not visible light.
No, that is
I can't.
Here, let's see which way it's rotating.
Basically, a stable hydrogen
No, it's going the right way around. If north is up.
bomb, providing more power in 1 second than 1 billion cities use in a year. It's an incredible source of energy. And
Is that right?
I was. Yep, we'll drink for that. And Monk
Are there
Mayfair, I was
billion
muted.
cities on Earth?
1 billion cities of what size? Or I mean, is it?
It's a hyperbole, but it's the sun puts out a lot of stuff, whereas the cities consume relatively minor.
Yeah. Also, Monk Mayfair, I was muted in the StreamYards call. So the only way that Beethoven even knew to tell me that I was muted is that he was listening to the stream up to his thing.
He was muted in the call.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
And of course, it's 100 times the size of the Earth in diameter. Amazing. The sun is a typical star. It's what we call.
Is that true?
I don't know. Let's find
100
out.
times. I mean, that's the thing.
What was the claim? I didn't quite hear.
100 times the diameter, right?
Yeah. So let's see.
Well, for
It's
the diameter,
109.
the diameters. I mean, I thought it's about 109.
Yeah, it's about 109.
I usually see about 109, 110. So
it's not.
He's rounding.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rounding error, but like
if you round to one, I mean, it's one if you round to 3 digits, right? So
Yeah, it's. I would have preferred him to say like 110 if he's not going to go all the way to the 3rd digit, but it's not so wrong that I'm going to say like, oh, this is terrible.
No.
It also says the sun is a yellow main sequence star. I thought the sun was white and not yellow.
Absolutely.
Oh, do we drink for that?
The sun is not a yellow star. The sun is white.
It just looks yellow to me.
It's because it's the blue lights get scattered out.
Yellow is a peak spectrum. This is showing. The previous one was showing in ultraviolet, probably at the iron 10 mission lines. This one is more closer to visible light.
So wait, do we drink for the yellow and or the 100 versus 109?
The yellow stuff because
okay.
How do you know that's yellow? If you take a white sheet of paper and go outside, it looks white.
Yeah.
If the sun were yellow light, then it would be reflecting yellow, but no, it reflects white. We would say, people talk about yellow because that's kind of the predominant, that's the peak color that the sun shines at. But
okay. Also, this is
we just think of yellow paper.
Well, then there would be a yellow light.
And I will point out, by the way, that Vegemite declares the glory of toast.
Okay. If you're an alleged Australian.
There you go.
Allegedly, if you're a toast god, so.
Okay. Oh, and then Tesla Ranger comes in with the sun equals 109.2 Earth diameters.
That's right.
So we're getting even more sig figs in here.
Star. That's sort of the smallest class of star. There are some that are smaller that are.
What?
No.
What? Oh my goodness.
That is very, very wrong.
Oh,
That is
take
the
it.
glasses
Very wrong.
off and do
That-
this.
Wait. Did you go back? I didn't actually hear it.
Okay, yeah, we'll go back a few seconds. Here we go.
Sequence star. That's sort of the smallest class of star. There are some that are small.
Not even close to the smallest class of star. My goodness.
That are also main sequence, but they're less. They're not as warm, and so those are called the red dwarf stars. They're a little bit cooler.
No, there's room between red dwarfs and G-class star. Oh my goodness.
And here's the thing is that you say the surface temperature is less because the surface temperature of something like Betelgeuse is colder than the surface temperature of our sun, even though its output is like, close to 100,000 suns.
Yeah.
Give or take, depending on what spectrum range you're picking.
Oh,
now what about the temperature on the surface of our sun versus the temperature at the same point from the center of Betelgeuse?
Yeah, because that would be the case where you would probably be inside the core.
Right.
So if you talk about distance-wise from the set, but the surface where it goes from translucent to transparent, that's what you call the surface of a star, is more a function of physical properties like mass, mass and size.
We have a quick question from Eric Vierthaler for Landon. What do you think is worse, flat Earth or YEC?
It's like saying, what is more wrong, 2 + 2 = 5 or 2 + 2 = 3?
I actually...
But I get this point. I would think implications are flat Earth is basically treated as being crazy, except for a few. Young Earth creationists justify their religious texts, and so I think there's a lot of more damage done by young Earth creationists than it is by flat Earthers.
Yeah,
I'm
for me... Oh, sorry.
But that's an opinion. Not
go ahead, Lex.
I'm not sure I necessarily agree because you can't really. It's a lot harder. There are a lot more things that how we conduct ourselves in society that break down if you think the Earth is flat versus if you think the Earth is younger than it really is. So I guess it depends on what you're prioritizing.
Yeah.
For me, there are two ways in which an ideology can be worse. One is the degree to which it is at odds with reality, in which case I say that by a slight margin, the flat Earth wins. It's not a big margin, actually. It's just a small one. But then there's the actual damage that is being done to society, and I think YEC wins hands down on that one.
So it really is a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
And you'd have to frame the question better to try to get some more objective spot. But subjectively, they're both pretty bad. I just find that young Earth creationists tend to require a lot more abuse. Flat Earthers just out reject reality, and so you just say, well, forget it then. Creationists pick up lots of mistruths and distort things a lot more, I think.
Could be.
But again, it's an opinion. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and to be fair, it's a question about what, in your opinion, what is worse. So he's looking for your opinion. But here we go. Let's get a little bit more Jason in here.
Temperature, and they're not as bright as the sun. They're very, very common, but we tend not to see them very much because they're not very bright. They don't stand out. Some of the brighter stars we see in our night sky are actually quite a bit bigger than the sun, like these blue supergiant stars. Mintaka, this is in the belt.
Hey, that's true. Some of the stars we see in the night sky are blue giants, and they're much bigger and brighter. So here we go.
Okay, let's give him a.
I'm hoping at some point he ties this back into why this confirms the Bible, because the Bible doesn't say anything about main sequence stars or which stars are bigger or smaller.
Weird.
And it's a beautiful blue supergiant, really a very pretty star. And you can see it's quite a bit bigger than the sun. So again, we're seeing the scale on the universe and how amazing that really is. There are stars even bigger than Mintaka. For example, Canopus, which is a white supergiant. I had never seen Canopus before moving to Texas because you can't really see it very well.
Landon, is this accurate?
It's a southern hemisphere object, so people in Australia allegedly can see Canopus.
Well,
and
but Landon,
I have allegedly been in Australia and seen Canopus, so
there isn't really a southern hemisphere, Landon. That's all made up. Brazil is the southernmost country in the world.
Is it?
Well, what about Equatorial Guinea?
No, because Brazil is mostly more south, and the southern parts of the alleged southern parts of Brazil don't exist. Brazil just stops. And parts of it are real, but parts of it are fake.
There are 200 million people in that little sliver of land.
Anyway, but yes, it's anyway, let's proceed and see.
Okay, here we go.
Kentucky, it's too far south. And so I got to see that upon moving here. Canopus is a white supergiant. I had to put that in because white supergiants really don't fit very well into the secular scheme of things. They really shouldn't exist if you're a secularist.
Wait!
Oh, here we
Wait,
go.
wait,
Landon, what do you got to say about that?
That seems stupid to me, but
I mean, because he's using this white supergiant, right?
Okay.
I think Canopus is actually I think if you look at Canopus, right, from there, it's a star. The question is, what is its classification?
I'm not sure. Let's see if I can find it. If I can spell it correctly.
It's like canapes, but
the brightest star in the southern constellation of Carina.
It's part of the Carina thing. It's an A spectral A class. So it's A9. And that would be the color index is 0.1. So yeah, it's actually quite luminosity about 10,000. That's typical of that stat. It certainly is, the brightest star in Carina. Eta Carina is actually the best star.
I hear
by
it's.
the way.
I'm reading that it's currently fusing helium.
Yeah, and it's also the reason why it's seen as white is because its spectrum, its temperature, which is around 7,400 degrees Kelvin, causes it to be spread over. It's bright enough over the entire visible spectrum that you get the blend of all colors. So there's no, so this is actually demonstrably wrong. Many of the stars in A class have a peak around that time, that temperature, and are spread across the entire visible spectrum and look white, just like the sun is white.
So what I'm getting at is there is absolutely nothing about Canopus which is outside of the paradigm of standard astronomy.
No.
Okay.
It's a pretty standard star. I never knew that was like someone said it shouldn't exist. No.
Well, hey, let's drink for that, because that was stupid.
Yeah.
So basically, Canopus is so bright that take that atheism, I guess, is the conclusion that we're supposed to get. All right, sure, why not?
And so, but
it seems like
God apparently had other.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, it seems like whatever, if they don't expect it to be there, then if it's there, then that must mean checkmate atheists.
Yeah, I don't
They're
even
projecting their own incredulity onto atheists.
I guess I don't know. It's a weird argument. I don't think he's going to expand on it, but we'll see.
Plans, because they do exist. They're rare, but they do exist. But there are stars even larger than Canopus. For example, Antares, which is a red supergiant. These are some of the largest stars that we know of.
My fifth favorite star, by the way.
Oh, and it's true. If I remember correctly, red supergiants are some of the largest stars that are known of, right?
That is true.
So hey, we'll take a drink.
I had to get a second thing
You
of
hardly
tea.
see the sun at that point. It really gives you a lesson in perspective, doesn't it? And Antares is just one star of billions. We find that stars often come in clusters, like the M80 globular star cluster.
One star in
these
billions.
Globular star clusters orbit just.
That's a lot. There's a lot more stars than billions. I mean, you got to.
I think he
There
meant
may be
known or visible red supergiants, or supergiants maybe in the Milky Way or something. I don't think he meant stars in general.
Okay.
maybe.
It's iffy, so I don't think we're going to drink for it either way, but be more clear, Jason.
Just outside our galaxy. They're beautiful, and you can see these in a small telescope. It doesn't take a world-class observatory. You get a small telescope if you know where to look.
That's true.
Again,
I'll
I've
drink
got
for
a
that.
book that has star charts that'll show you how to find these things. It's not hard.
Yep.
It's just a fun way to enjoy the glory of God, really. As we go out into even deeper into space, we find things called nebulae. That's the plural form. A nebula.
Wait, hold on. As we go even deeper into space than globular clusters, what?
No, I mean it's
What does that even mean?
I presume he means that all nebulae are farther away than the farthest globular cluster we can see.
which is wrong.
No, it's completely wrong. No, I'm gonna drink for that. That is really stupid.
Because the Crab Nebula and those places like that are actually quite close.
Yeah, on a galactic
compared
scale.
to what is the closest globular?
I mean, they're all outside the galactic plane, so I mean they'd have what, more than 50,000 years or light years or so. That's just me making an educated guess.
Closest globular to Earth, I believe, is I think it's maybe like NGC.
Messier 4.
6397, I think. Messier 4, yes.
And how close is Messier 4?
5,500 light years in the constellation Scorpio.
Oh, I remember it's around 7,800 light years, but yeah, around the same. And
that might be the
there are nebula that are much closer than 7,800 light years. So, and also that's not a really good globular cluster. That's kind of a pathetic one.
Hey, you know what? It's not the size of the globular cluster that matters.
Hey, a globular cluster of any size is a testament to the glory of God.
That's true. Okay, so actually, speaking of nebulae, there's actually, when I'm playing Elite Dangerous, every once in a while I go out into like the core of the galaxy because there's a lot of undiscovered stuff, and I just go scan all of it and come back. And there are actually a number of nebulae that when I start being able to see them in the star field, because the game generates the star field based on where you are, then I know that I'm actually starting to get close. And those are like oh, I'm getting close to home again.
By the way, just to be clear, someone mentioned Messier 4, the one that NGC 6397 is Caldwell 90 is Caldwell 86. Messier 4 is a different one. So there's kind of a, depending on how you measure it, NGC or Caldwell 68 and Messier 4 are pretty neck and neck as far as closest goes.
Was it are they measuring it to the edge, the closest point that's part of it, or is it just the center?
Yeah, I mean, usually people talk about the center being the distance there, but again, it's I guess it depends upon what you mean by distance.
Oh, and Monk Mayfair points out that globular clusters are a testament to gravity. This is true. This is extremely accurate.
Well,
God is gravity.
Well said. Well said.
Here we go. Let's see what other craziness we can get besides even farther away than globular clusters.
Yeah,
or nebulae.
I'm sorry if I'm cluster shaming.
Yeah, no cluster shaming.
All clusters have matter?
Yes, that's true.
Is that too soon?
Ooh. Singular nebula it's Latin for cloud, and that's kind of what they look like. They're a cloud, but not a cloud of water vapor like in Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, and TD Lane said that Lisle should pick up Ken's Zodiac argument at this point. This is a new one on me. I don't know if you knew, Landon, but last week Kent Hovind said that the Zodiac proves the gospel of the New Testament.
Which Zodiac?
The general in-use astrology Zodiac. Yeah, I guess the King James Zodiac. It was I lost
it. It's all part of the Hovind theory.
Yeah, that was some craziness.
They're a cloud of hydrogen and helium gas.
Those
are the two lightest elements.
No.
Those are what stars are made of. But where stars are compact in a little sphere, a nebula is spread out over a vast region of space. And if there are stars nearby, they'll cause it to heat up and glow. And you get the most beautiful and vivid colors from these nebulae. They're stunning. And sometimes you'll have a star cluster in them as well.
Yeah, most of the things that is a reflection nebula as opposed to direct thermal heating.
So,
I mean, a pulsar can cause relativistic electrons to heat up a thing, but usually there's either it stimulates emission or it reflects. It doesn't really have a thermal.
So these nebulae are not incandescent, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So are we going to drink for him getting that wrong, even though he's an astrophysicist?
So.
Okay.
I think so.
Not only are they not incandescent, they're also not incandescent.
Well said. Well said.
Nice pun.
That's a joke. I didn't laugh at.
Okay, we'll drink for it.
Hey, chances are those nebulae are brighter than Kent.
That's true. They absolutely are. But yeah,
That is funny.
it's like, Jason, look, dude, you're an astrophysicist. You have a PhD in astrophysics. You should know the difference between reflected light, emission, and incandescence. Like, these are not the same phenomena. You should know this.
And you know, I get, you might say that, hey, he's speaking poetically, but you know, you got to be careful when you say waxing poetically and you're trying to also drive at a scientific point. You're better off making statements that are cringe free, and so you sit there and say, you know, stars tend to stimulate the nebulae around them through a variety of means: reflection, absorption, transmission.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, he might be speaking poetically in the sense of like Poe's law.
Oh.
If he starts speaking poetically, then you got to be careful, because answers in Genesis can be answered by saying, you know, it's a pair of poems written by early savages.
All right, are we ready for more, Jason?
Sure.
Yeah. If my mouse ever goes to my other screen, my goodness. You ever get that where your mouse gets stuck on the screen that you're using?
All the time.
By the way, someone asked if God did this in 6 days without a single beer.
I mean, I don't see any beer mentioned in the Bible during the creation narrative, but I also don't see it being denied. So I'm just going to have to say that the creation narrative is agnostic as to how much beer God may or may not have drank during the creation week.
Yeah.
And being God, he could simply create any amount of beer he desired in order to consume it while creating. So,
or if you're Bacchus, then you are the god of spirits. So,
man, that's what I want to do. I want to visit a universe created by Bacchus and just see what it's like. Everything is made of wine.
Everything
so
is
you can
a
see
Cheers
the
episode.
little Hodge star cluster there in the lower right, and they're just absolutely beautiful. This nebula is enormous. It's many times the size of the solar system, but some nebulae are relatively small, and these are called planetary nebulae. A planetary nebula is where you have a single star that's ejecting gas, and so it has this sort of bubble surrounding it, and it usually has a two-lobe or two-pole structure. They call that a bipolar planetary
that's also
nebula.
correct there.
And you can
So,
All right, we'll drink for that. Also, talking about Elite Dangerous again, every single planetary nebula in that game, the central star there, has already been explored. Don't even bother. People made a buzz line for them in like the first year of the game.
See it there. It's beautiful, and it's dynamic artwork of God, because you see it changes as the gas continues to flow out century after century. So it's beautiful artwork of God. God paints beautiful art, and he does it on an enormous
century after
canvas.
century, is he
That's the way I like to
implying
think
an age?
I think he is.
about it. All kinds of planetary nebula out there. They're all beautiful. Some of them have that bipolar structure. Some of them are circular, and we don't know if they're genuinely circular. We don't know if they're like a sphere, or maybe they're bipolar too, and we're looking right down the barrel. We don't really know, because we can't get...
Shouldn't it at
Well,
least
actually,
sometimes?
we kind of do. We actually kind of do.
Oh, well.
In the case like the Ring Nebula, we know it's a shell going off. Now, is it a perfectly shell? I mean, that's a more metaphorical.
Landon, did we know in 2017?
Yeah. I mean, we knew
Okay.
that essentially we're seeing the edge of a bubble on the Ring
All
Nebula,
right.
as an example.
All right, well,
Which
since
I think
we
it's
knew
that.
better, I'm going to take a drink for it.
Again, if he's trying to be factual, you're better off trying to avoid, statements that cause someone to cringe.
Right. And we have, for $2.99 dues from Ian Chen, one of my most generous supporters, by the way. My goodness. He says, "Hi Daps, your 152nd million in 7 years birthday soon." That is correct. I am turning 152 million in 7 on Sunday.
And by the way, given that the length of the day and year has changed, does that mean that you've seen your years change in duration over
Well,
time?
they haven't changed much in duration if you're counting by current seconds, but they have changed significantly in duration if you're counting how many days have gone by, but those days were shorter. So it depends how you're measuring it. However, there were a lot more total solar eclipses because the moon at the time was significantly bigger in angular diameter than the sun is. So not a huge amount, but it was There were no annular eclipses at the time.
You probably had 8 and 9 minute totalities.
Yeah, it was. Look, I'm telling you, the AIG likes to go on about how perfect the size of the moon is. That's just because they didn't live 150 million years ago.
There you go.
That's when the moon was really the perfect size. Legs, I'm sorry. Did you?
Oh, I was gonna ask, like, if my memory served me correctly, that the earliest days of Earth, the solar day was about 12 hours long.
I'm not actually sure about it during the earliest, because we're talking here like 4 billion years ago. But when you start getting into the Phanerozoic, you start getting times that are in like the 14 to 16 hours.
Yeah, I think the minimum that people model is around 8, but
okay,
but it's close. It's close. I think because that's probably when if our model of the Earth's moon formation is reasonably correct, then the moon was formed about 4 times closer to it, and you do the dynamics, and you find out you get an 8-hour Earth day.
And of course, by the time my time came around, that was well into the history of this system.
Yeah,
because you got to remember, we're talking about the Earth moon forming almost at the 4.5 billion mark, and I'm coming out at only 150 million years ago. On the scale of the solar system's age, 150 million years is like nothing.
Yeah.
But here we go. Let's get a little more Jason.
Get in the other angle on it. We're here in our solar system, and we really can't leave the solar system. We've only had 4 spacecraft that have left the solar system, and they're just barely. We just don't have that kind of ability.
That's true, right?
Oh, it's either true or there's Godzilla, but we're going to drink either way.
So fourth, I guess the question is, say, what does it mean to have left the solar system?
Gotten past the heliopause?
Usually, yeah, and so I would say...
There's been at least 2. I'm trying to remember the other, like Voyager 1 and 2 have left. I can't remember the other 2.
I don't think anything else has.
The Pioneer...
Pioneer, I thought it just kind of just sat there in orbit of, was it Saturn, until it just kind of died?
In terms of Pioneer 10, when we last contacted in 2002, I don't believe the distance right now is around well, I mean, we haven't made Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11. We've probably the
drink for Godzilla.
I don't know. All right.
And again,
wow.
Godzilla is gracing us with his presence. Mothra hasn't come up though. By the way, if you're watching Mothra J Disco, you're sometimes one of our drink triggers, so you're out there. We got a guy who occasionally super chats called Mothra J Disco, because that's a visit from Mothra. We drink for him.
Okay, I mean I'll give him that.
Yeah, we're gonna give him a drink for correct.
Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11.
All right. All right, we'll drink for him getting something right. Who is furiously typing? Sphincter of Doom. You gotta mute when you're doing that, buddy.
I typed I didn't think I was furiously typing. But
if you're going past 3 button presses, mute it. Here we go. Some more Jason.
My favorites is the Ring Nebula. And I like this one because it was one of the first that I learned how to find. You can actually see this in a small telescope in the summer evening sky. And again, I now have a book. I used to tell people, eventually I'm going to write a book showing you how to find this. Well, I did it. I finally did it. So,
you got that right. Here we go. I'm going to drink for
it. It's easy because it's...
So let's say yes, you can find it, but who's in hemisphere? Right? If you are in the alleged continent of Australia, it's your evening winter sky.
Well, so I'm gonna go ahead and guess that Jason here is a bit of a northern hemisphere chauvinist, and I'm also gonna point out that a significant majority of the world's population do live in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, just don't stomp on the ground because their ceiling bothers them.
It might shake loose all of the Australians who have to cling on to the ground for dear life so they don't fall off.
Yeah.
And by the way,
allegedly,
Smitty says it was furious. So there you go.
Smitty does not lie.
No, well, except when he does. Or he's facetious occasionally. He's facetious
Besides that,
sometimes, yeah.
Besides when he lies, he does not lie.
That is true.
only-
I thought that the Pioneer 10 has not reached the helipause.
So are there reasonable definitions for the solar system that would say that the Pioneer 10 has left it?
I believe Pioneer 11 is close too.
We gave it to him. I'm not willing to retract it yet. We'll just say it's iffy.
There isn't quite a, it depends upon what you mean by the solar system, right?
Yeah.
Some people say that Pluto's the edge of the solar system. Some people say that the edge of the Kuiper Belt, or either the edge or cloud or something. It kind of depends.
How about this? There are 4 objects that I know of that are on a trajectory which take them beyond the gravitation, to a point where they will not come back closer to the sun in the foreseeable future.
Yep.
Okay, well we'll just say that that's what he means.
Yeah.
There are currently 4 objects on an interstellar trajectory created by humans.
I like that. See, that's a better way of saying it than this cringy thing.
Yeah. Well,
I'm assuming we're not including like space debris, like when like satellites get hit by stuff, and then like
I don't think any of that is on an interstellar trajectory.
Yeah.
I would be
agree.
shocked if any space debris that was not intentionally set on an interstellar trajectory is on one. I can't even imagine how it would happen. People underestimate the amount of delta V that's required to get yourself on an escape trajectory from the solar system. It's a
lot.
The sun's got a lot of mass. It wants to keep stuff near it.
Heck, just getting on a trajectory that intersects the sun as an object also takes a lot of delta V. The thing is, unless you actually do something where you have to look at the math involved, you don't really get a sense of just how big the numbers are. They're crazy. So here we go. Let's get a little bit more, Jason.
It's directly in between 2 stars. It's like God really wanted us to find this one, and so he put these nice guide stars next to it. But it's beautiful. It's just stunningly beautiful.
Well, okay, so I'm trying to parse out the idea here. So God really wants us to find this one nebula, thousands of years after the creation of the earth, thousands of years after he says the heavens declare the glory of God, which should have been apparent at the time. And this particular one happens to be easy. But if we don't assume God, there would have had to have been an easiest to find planetary nebula, right?
But if God wanted to make it easy for people to see, it would have been bright enough to people to see that look, there's a dome up there. You have to get a telescope and find it.
Isn't the first one you find the easiest one to find?
Well, not necessarily. It could just be
and Lyra, there's an easy way to find stuff, but there's an easy way to find other things too.
Yeah, I just do not get the push of this argument. I get the rhetorical point he's trying to make, but it doesn't actually work as a real argument for his point.
If God wanted us to find the Ring Nebula, God would have made the Ring Nebula either larger or brighter or both.
All right, let's see what else we got.
And it's so weird too. When you have a small telescope, you see most places you point at just randomly, you see stars and stars and stars and stars, and they're beautiful, but they're just stars.
Wait, aren't most points empty
little
space?
Magic spot.
Well, no. If you have a small telescope, there are going to be stars in any direction that are going to be in your field of view.
He said most points in that field of view.
Yeah, if you point at almost anywhere, there will be stars in your field of view.
And because some of them are nebula, which are not stars, so.
But there will be stars there.
Most shiny bits are stars.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking about the infinite... Dream for Godzilla.
Oh, I need to get a second thing of tea.
Now, if you're talking about the exact, infinitesimal point that you're pointing at, okay, fine, but I don't think he's talking in terms of, hypothetical infinitesimal dimensionless dots that are hypothetically somewhere on your telescope. I mean...
Yeah.
That's fair. I was thinking, mathematically, and
yeah.
I have gone through 1.74 liters of tea, so I need to get...
That is a lot of tea, my goodness.
That's an impressive amount. What kind of tea, if I may ask?
This is unsweetened black tea, just pure leaf in a plastic bottle.
Excellent.
Fair enough.
So I think something like the Orion Nebula or Carina Nebula that you can see as a spot is even easier, right? Because in the Sword Orion, there's a fuzzy spot that looks like a star that you can't quite resolve. Or Carina, which is even more obvious.
Okay. Well, here we go. We'll get a little bit more from Jason.
Where you will see a little glowing smoke ring. And it is so weird to see because you can't really see the color in the telescope because you're using the rod system in your eyes. It looks like a gray smoke ring, and you're expecting it to expand like the smoke rings that you've seen on Earth, and it just hovers there. It is expanding. It's just so big. It takes hundreds of years for it to make any difference at all.
But wait. If you look at the speed that the ring is expanding, and you run back, you run into a androgenesis problem. I'll just point that out.
Oh, because it doesn't come back to zero in enough time?
Yeah.
So God created an already exploded star with the gas already exploding, is what you're going for.
It's
Or
just
so
slowing
that's what he
down.
would have to say.
It exploded faster at first, and now it's exploding
Now
slower.
it's just like the speed of light slowed down or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Oh, drink for Godzilla.
Yeah.
I don't have tea this time. I have basically an Arnold Palmer.
That's
So it's-
half tea.
Yep.
Ah, I just swung my straw around and a little bit of liquid came out. Gross.
Yikes.
Well, I mean, my straw is mostly full of liquid since it's in my. It doesn't matter.
Nothing. Really strange. Beautiful.
Actually, I'll retract myself. It's actually probably 1600 years plus or minus 240, so it doesn't create a
Darn.
angiogenesis problem.
All right.
Sorry.
Landon got it wrong. Drink.
Drink.
But he admitted he was wrong. Why would he drink?
You still got it wrong.
That's when he told the truth.
We
so
have.
you got to drink for
Yeah,
that.
we have high standards for Landon on this show.
Well, as Mac of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame said, God is a liar. Or science is a liar.
Yeah, science is a liar.
Sometimes.
But you gotta put the
Sometimes.
pause in there. Yeah, science is a liar. Sometimes. Which was a great episode. If you haven't watched It's Always Sunny, not a show to watch with your kids necessarily. Check it out. It's pretty good.
All of these things that we've seen, all of these nebulae and star clusters and planets and so on, solar systems, are in a relatively small region of what we call a galaxy. A galaxy is a collection of 100 billion or more stars, like you see here in the Whirlpool Galaxy. And this again is another.
Is that the threshold for a galaxy?
telescope. It's hard to.
No.
But is it an unreasonable statement to say that it's about that many stars?
I mean,
It's
dwarf
true of the Milky
galaxies,
Way galaxy.
the large mantle clouds and small mantle clouds are not that scale in their galaxies.
So, do we drink?
It's true of the Milky Way galaxy, and that's what he was referring to. So
By the way, yes, that's true. You're
Okay.
right.
All right. So on the scale of the Milky Way, that's a pretty normal number for those kinds of galaxies.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give it to him then. Ah, stupid mouse.
To see that spiral structure unless you get away to really dark skies.
Just use
I have
space.
seen it. I've seen it from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in fact, where I had it was just beautiful to see this in a telescope. Really stunning. And there are other galaxies out there we now know. Astronomers used to think that maybe they saw these galaxies in telescopes, but they thought maybe they were solar systems forming. See how evolutionary notions have negatively influenced science? If they'd stuck with that, they would never.
I don't see how. How?
No.
No, solar systems can form inside of galaxies. So,
I feel like
mean-
you just said two stupid things, not
Yeah.
just one.
Do you want to drink twice? Because I'll drink twice. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
We're currently killing off all of the smartest brain cells in Landon's head because in addition to all the alcohol, he's having to listen to this stupid stuff. So we are basically ruining Landon for the rest of time. That's what's happening right now.
actually, if I recall, when you drink, it tends to kill off the weakest ones, and then the remaining ones restructure themselves into new networks.
Get
So as
out
long
of
as you're
here
not
with your
excessive-
medicine.
So as long as you're not excessive, you can actually improve cognition
No.
with regular drinking.
Ah.
That sounds good to me. I say we
Let's just go with it. I'm drinking to get smart, or all right.
never found out the true explanation, which is that these are actually collections of hundreds of billions of stars, not forming. They're fully formed. They're fully designed. And you can see that there are all kinds
Designed.
There,
Didn't he just contradicting himself from earlier, where it was basically forming an already exploded star?
well, yeah. So there's that. So here's the thing. I'm going to drink further design because there is absolutely no indication of that.
Yep.
Plus, the stars there are not all fully formed because, Landon, correct me if I'm wrong, but we know of star-forming regions in other galaxies, right?
Yeah, and they have nebula and the other thing. So
all right, so I'm going to drink for that too.
Yeah.
Well, there's also stars that have ended their lives because every galaxy has at least one supermassive black hole.
And all of them also are going to have stellar remnants. So, yeah, you know what? I'll drink another time for that. So
we call them stellar leavings.
It would be more fun, but I'm pretty sure the standard is stellar remnant, so.
Galaxies of tremendous beauty. There are galaxies of tremendous ugliness.
That's just a bad photo. Yeah, that's a bad joke.
That's not even a joke.
That was supposed to be a joke. Yeah, we'll drink for that.
I don't think that was supposed to be a joke.
The audience laughed.
Yeah, but they're stupid.
Well, okay, but
I didn't say they're ignorant.
I was actually about to go into the whole, like, yeah, if you use a bad picture, but then I realized that's the point, and it makes me feel bad. Also, Mug Mayfair just quoted me, "I'm drinking to get smarter, Dapper Dino." 2020.
Dapper, if you want to avoid the mouse issue, if that's your active window, space will pause and unpause.
It's not always my active window. So, I do appreciate the tip.
You can also click inside the picture portion and not necessarily on the play button. That usually.
I am also aware of this.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what you do or don't know.
I am informing you, but thank you. I appreciate your attempts to enlighten me as to basic functionality of YouTube. I don't honestly use the YouTube website very often, guys. Like, little secret, I don't upload very much or do anything with YouTube, so just, it's fine.
Mine used to say that. He says, we still don't know what causes that either. There are galaxies that have rings of stars surrounding them. There are galaxies that look for all the world like flying saucers. That's a real galaxy, the Sombrero Galaxy, they call that. And you can see why. It's got that dark dust lane surrounding it at its equator. Isn't that amazing? And you can see that in a small telescope. In fact, this is about the time of year you'd want to see it. And it's not that hard. You can even see that dust lane. You can see galaxies in the process of collision. People say,
now that is going to be a problem for this whole timescale thing.
Absolutely.
Because that took a lot longer than 6,000 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
So let's drink for debunking yourself before you even bothered to get to an argument for a young universe.
Except if he does something, he can. There's various silly things you can say that God formed the light in the middle of the.
In transit, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I happen to know for a fact that Lisle rejects this idea. So yeah, because I've watched enough Jason Lisle. Jason Lisle is the light travels instantaneously towards Earth, but travels at 2c away from Earth kind of guy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
How does that even work?
Jason Lisle thinks that light travels instantaneously towards Earth, so there's no time gap. So if you see a galaxy 50 million light years away, that light took exactly 0 time to get to you. But if light traveling from the Milky Way to that galaxy, that would be a span of 100 million years.
So you're saying that the speed of light is relative to the direction from the observer?
Yes, according to Jason Lisle.
Doesn't that run into problems with relativity and experimental evidence?
Well, so one of the clever little things he does about the experimental evidence is that anytime you're measuring the speed of light experimentally, you have to synchronize clocks in order to do so effectively, or you have to rely on a two-way travel. Doing so requires light to travel in at least 2 directions to do so.
No, you can do a pulse from one unidirectional pulse.
Right, but then when when you measure the light going to the pulse and then coming back, so
you don't have to do a round trip. You can do one way.
Maybe that's the case.
Well, what about
I'm drunk enough to not be able to think about it right now.
I mean, you get a mirror detector you get the clocks synchronized that are together.
Right.
You pull them away, and then you have light emit.
But But the degree to which so when you pull them away, they're going to experience time dilation, right?
You pull away slowly.
Well, there's always going to be some time dilation, right?
But by the time you take the measurements, they're stopped.
Right, but here's what his argument is going to be, right? He's going to say that if the speed of light is anisotropic, to use a big fancy word, right, in a directional way, then the amount of time dilation that one clock will experience going in one direction versus the other one is going to be canceled out, such that when you then use both clocks for a speed of light experiment, they will still give you C.
No, because you have the thing rotating and spinning, and you'll still see the same time distance.
Oh, so we put it like in a centrifuge and slowly draw them across?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that would cancel it out, but I don't think he's going to go there. I mean, we're not going to get to that point anyway, because we're already basically at wrap-up time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
oh, hey, don't worry. You know what? If you want to finish this nonsense, let me know, and we can finish it another day.
We have to do what to do because I'm really curious to see what he does with the cosmic distance stuff.
Okay, well, that is coming up pretty soon. So I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Probably not next week, because next week I want to get back to some Kent with Bent, and I might want to have another Eric with Erica before we cycle back to Lisle with Landon. So it might be in a few weeks that we come back to this, but I'll
like 2 or 3 weeks,
something like that. Yeah.
All right.
So we can see what else he does with this, but let's see. Channel news. So I know if you were here Saturday, you heard me say that there will probably be a Friday after show. That is not currently the case, because as it turns out, the degree to which I thought that the debate in question had been firmly scheduled was significantly greater than it actually was. So the current time frame for this debate on genetic entropy, as well as the exact venue, is still a little bit nebulous. So I'm not exactly sure when or what day it will be. So scrap any of that you may have heard from my stream on Saturday. Sorry about that. Thursday, unless things do not go according to plan, I am going to be having the next episode of the Katie Wells thing. I don't know if you saw the last one. It was 2 weeks ago, where Katie basically showed that he had no reading comprehension skills whatsoever. Also, if you want to laugh, go to his channel and check out his Destroying Dapper Dino video, in which he reads an article out loud and then still gets what it says wrong.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
You get to watch him in real time fail at reading comprehension. Well, in this video, we're going to learn that actually, it's not just reading comprehension. Katie has a fundamental failure to understand how words work at the most basic level. He doesn't understand what a word is at all. So if you want to see possibly the stupidest thing that has ever been on this channel, come back on Thursday. It is amazing. I don't know that I can overstate how incredibly inane this video is that I respond to. But then, nothing on Saturday. I know Saturday is normally a stream or an upload day. It's nothing this week. Because, starting off at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, US. I don't know what that is in London or whatever. Do your math, guys. We're going to be starting with a birthday live stream marathon. We're going to start with a video about geology. I'm going to have Colton Corporal Anon on, because he is my geology guy. Then we're going to go to some gaming stuff. It'll be on Dapper Dino channel. The video will not stay on Dapper Dino. It will be downloaded and then uploaded to Top Hats Off, because it is very off topic. But I want it to be on my main channel so that, you know, my subscribers can come in and hang out with me for my birthday, because I want to hang out with you guys for my birthday, and that's Sunday. So, then Tuesday, I'm pretty sure it will be Kent with Bent, and so on. So there you go. I have at least up until Thursday after next already set as exactly what's going to happen. I know what's happening. If you're curious about the speculative evolution program or project, it is being worked on. by tomorrow, I should have at least 1 or 2 more creatures done. I'm going to wait. It'll probably be a week or 2 before the next episode comes out. I'm already in the planning stages for the next things that aren't dinosaurs. It'll be on turtles, broadly speaking. Let's see. Is there anything else that's important? Oh, hey, Thursday, you're going to see Gutsit Gibbon again because she is in that video. So if you're a big fan of Erica, another reason to come back on Thursday because human evolution comes up. And of course, if human evolution comes up, guess who I ask? Erica. So Erica gave me some nice clips. And that's pretty much it for the channel. Landon, what do you have that you want to plug?
I would want to encourage people to check out Milwaukee Atheists. They do a lot of stuff regarding even they're reading the Bible. They're reading some of the Apocrypha stuff. They do a lot of historical research on the early Christian church. And one of the worst things you can do is actually read the Bible because you find it's full of pretty much a lot of stuff that you as a believer you don't want to see. So check out Milwaukee Atheists.
Link is already in the description, by the way.
Yeah. Also, another person I would say that's a fun folk is Pit Monk. Recently, his dog Diesel died, so give him a listen because he's a pretty good improv guy that needs a little bit of
cheering,
cheering
yeah. Up. I do not have that in the description right now, Landon. If you message that to me, I will make sure I add it.
Okay, I will do that.
Is there anything else?
I mean, I think we're about halfway through this video. I have to say that the stuff we've been finding has been more on the nitpicking side.
Yeah, it'll get a lot worse.
We haven't gotten to the anything that borders on lunacy. But
nebulae being farther away than globular clusters wasn't too good.
I mean, that's kind of a little. I mean, if you hyperbole thing, yeah, okay, you got that wrong.
Yeah,
but that's not crazy. I mean, just like I got the age of the Ring Nebula wrong. So
good point.
I corrected myself. So I say we'll schedule part 2.
Yeah.
I mean, and start from there.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I say keep asking questions and keep enjoying my favorite universe, if you please.
Awesome. All right, Legs, do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Not especially.
That's fair. Do you have any social media or anything if people want to follow you that you're comfortable giving out?
Not really.
All right.
I'm not super active on social media.
I like lunacy as a pun. I mean, Monk Mayfair is a pun on lunacy.
Lunacy. They haven't focused on the moon much. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Bent, what do you got to plug?
Coppermagma.com.
There you go.
Check out the music, and I will not be around for the stream Thursday because I'll just tell everyone now, Copper Magma is auditioning new drummers, and we're meeting another one on Thursday.
All right. Although to be clear, Thursday is not a stream; it is a premiere. So.
Oh, it's a premiere. Well, I won't be around to chat with it.
I'm hearing Mothra. Drink for Mothra.
Oh.
Cheers, Mothra.
All right, that's all I've got.
Okay, fair enough. I have something to plug on Bent's behalf, which is if you are feeling generous and you want to show Bent some love, he does have a Amazon wish list that is linked in the description. So feel free to check that out if you want. There you go. I, of course, have already given you channel news. You guys already know about the Patreon and the wish list and all that good stuff if you are so inclined. If not, then liking the video, sharing it, commenting, all of those are great. And I mean this sincerely. Like it's very noticeable when people have large amounts of engagement with a video versus when they don't. So the videos do a lot better when I get more engagement. So one of the best things that you can do that is not directly supporting the channel monetarily is just hitting like, hitting subscribe, hitting the notification bell, commenting. Even if you just comment, for the engagement. YouTube doesn't care what your comment says. And also, thumbs up and thumbs down, yeah, those work out the same way. But I think that's all for us for tonight. Quick Mothra drink, but thank you for coming. I'm the Dapper Dinosaur. I'll see you guys later.
Take kindly. Keep asking questions.